Welcome back to the channel, everybody. Today's project is M.O.A.B.B, mother of all burn barrels. Alrighty, it is 3 p.m. Let's see what happens. Lucky for me, we have our custom burn barrel construction stand. So we got about 2 feet of room, actually about 26, 28 inches of height to spare with your measurements that you wanted. So I was trying to take this angle, keep it as lightweight as possible. And I want to have 4 feet, of course, but I only want to have 2 legs down to a box frame. So what I thought I'd do is take 2 of these pieces of heavy-duty angle stock for the base, weld them on right here as legs, extend them about 12 inches beyond. But I was trying to figure out how to get these contours in here so I can weld this entire seam, because this stands off probably 1/8 of an inch or so. So what I finally figured out is if I just cut these notches in here, just kind of traced out the notch pattern, I could lay those down in there. But it just wouldn't quite lay down very well to get nice and tight so I can get some good solid welding in there. And then I finally figured out I got to back cut this basically like a lawnmower blade along this entire notched back end here on both sides. And then she lays down just absolutely slick. I'm going to pick a, this section right here in particular has a couple little dents in it. So I'm going to pick a little bit cleaner section excuse me, to do that. But so this will be nice and tight along there, so I can get some good welds all throughout that entire area. This leg will never come off. This burn barrel rot well before that leg ever, those 2 legs ever come off. And then there'll be a leg over here, but this whole thing will go to a basically a square foot. So you have 2 legs to a square foot, so it'll have complete stability, 4-leg stability. Yet slightly lighter weight, because I'll use a heavy-duty stock right here, and then I'll use this this thinner tube stock to make my whatever, my foundation. And the key to that is these 40 grit premium zirconias here. These flappers just eat away this metal. These actually ate these divots out of here in seconds. And then by far one of the coolest tools that I've got in the shop right now, my buddy loaned me this on long-term loan, Ben Jesse, thank you Ben. It's a cold steel, it's a cutoff saw that makes cold cuts so that it doesn't heat these things up. Put a power pull on these things. And that'll give us 2 perfectly even legs right there, and it's nice and cold. Then we need to mark out the outside perimeter of the leg locations here and on the other side, and grind off the paint where the weld is going to happen for a nice pure clean weld. Since this is thin material, we got to be real clean. that down with some acetone and clean it up really well before we start. I forgot that I wanted to cap these things off, so this would be the top side. So I'll cut out a triangle out of this piece of sheet stock and cap this off so the top ends up staying dry. Then what we'll have to do is just carve just a slight arch in here to contour to the actual shape of the barrel where it mounts up on the top end. So those will be the two little end caps basically on those posts. And then when you're welding onto these edges here, you just kind of bevel this outside edge on that, and then I'll bevel this edge. Let's see, actually, yeah, I think I'm going to weld that straight on actually. So this has got a little bevel, and then we'll clean it up with the wire brush, get that little shop layer off of there, put some acetone on there and weld the cap, and then we'll grind that thing down nice and smooth. So these little caps are 1/8 inch thick, so pretty cool on this Miller Electric. All I got to do is, let's see if I can get this camera stand down here. Let's see. So all I got to do is set this up. I'm on 0.030 thickness wire feeding through this gun here. I'm set over on M.O.A.B.B steel C25, so I've got 25% argon, 75% CO2 mixture on my tank, the red tank that's over there just out of frame. And then I just set it right just below center on this 1/8 thickness on the auto set, and she sizzles in typically pretty nicely. So I'm grounded out here on the main post, magnet sitting up here just so I can tack this in. I'm not going to show this on video because I think I've heard that this burns the cell phone lens if you do this, so I ain't doing that. And so I just tack it in on one of the corners here so I can turn it into vise. And then I can set it up like this so I can do a nice easy pull across here. So with the argon and steel, you can pull at about a 5-degree angle across like this over to the tack and then just run it over. But on the aluminum, you have to actually push that thing forward there for it to work, and the shielding has to work, I guess. And so I just tack it in on one of the corners here so I can turn it into vise, and then I can set it up like this so I can do a nice easy pull across here. So with the argon and steel, you can pull at about a 5-degree angle across like this over to the tack and then just run it over. But on the aluminum, you have to actually push that thing forward there for it to work, and the shielding has to work, I guess. So that side was overcut like by about a 1/8 of an inch plus the weld. So yeah, my welds suck anyway, but now it's nice and flat over there. It's just easier to grind this stuff off with this 40 grit than it is to cut those edges off. And this is the other weld. It ain't pretty, but it'll put a cap on there and it'll grind down nice. And then that'll be the net result. And that'll be the top. So now all you gotta do is just cut a little bit of an arch in this to accommodate the curvature of the barrel. So that'll be it. It's just got a little bit of an arch to it, just enough to get a weld in there, and then back, just kind of back cut that angle right there to take a nice strong mold. And then we have 12-inch long leg number 1 just tacked in, ready to weld up, but I want to get the other one established first to make sure everything is nice and square and level. The second welds of the day always turn out a little bit better, of course. So, but I do have all that to grind off here because it's a little bit too long that way. And right out the gate, I'm going to go ahead and say I got those legs right, because I've never seen a two-legged burn barrel. Not too shabby. Just kind of building as I go here without much of a plan. I'm loving this. I'm just going to put some feet on there, some 2 long feet basically. So those are going to give it perfect support like that. And then I probably will come down at a angle on each of those sides with some stock just to shore that up. Yeah, I like this. I'm trying to make it as lightweight as possible. So I didn't want too much understructure, and it's just kind of falling together with this angle bracket. So I'm starting to like this. With it upside down here, I'll just weld a little cross bracket right here, and that's what the foot will ride on, is that heavy, beefy steel cross bracket. Alrighty. So there we go on those reinforced footings. So those are going nowhere. And then once I weld these legs on, that is so much weld holding this dang thing on. So I even was able to get weld down inside, about a 3/4 of an inch inside these feet. So these legs will be stable. So last night I was trying to think of a way that I could get a door here, a reinforced door basically, for your 6x6 inch door. And I wanted to be able to match the curvature of this, and I've got a Harbor Freight Tools pipe bender, but that didn't work. It was a total mess when I tried to bend this square steel. I didn't have any round stock to add into this, but I finally figured it out. So I'm just taking this 8-inch long piece for the top and the bottom of that door, and I'm scoring it with a grinding wheel. Then I'm cutting it all the way down here with a hacksaw from the top down till it hinges basically. So I'll leave this bottom intact, and then I'll be able to bend this to any curvature basically using these gaps. I'll show you what I'm talking about. Alright, so now basically they're all scored, which will now make it easy for me to get in here and keep a nice straight line. Drop it down to the depth of this blade, which will bottom out basically right on this, and it gives a little resistance. It won't just cut through immediately. Makes it pretty easy like this. Alright, and then with that, now we can just do something else, sorry. Now we can secure that in a vise and just kind of bend this thing like a slinky. It'll be a little bit overbent. It'll end up with a little bit too much curvature. But if I did these every 1/2 inch basically, so if I did it every 1 inch, it ended up not being enough. So I figured, let's just go overkill, and I can just tack it down so it'll be perfect like that basically. So and then we should, since we have 2 6-inch pieces and 2 8-inch pieces, we should end up with a 6x6 door when all said and done. Like this. And then I will plan and cut the actual hole so that I can weld the this plate. Will be basically, I'll cut it a 1/2 inch too big, and I'll tack weld that whole thing to the back end of this thing, or weld it in, and we'll have a nice secure door, just like any residential door. I think if I'm thinking about this correctly, I think this should work really well. So actually, I need a 7" by 7". So online, you can print out any size templates. I put 7 by 7, so we can lay this out on there, draw our shape, and then cut her out. All right, now we have the door all mapped out finally, and yeah, so we'll cut it out with this guy here, and leave it kind of hanging on each of the edges, kind of like you would a drywall outlet, an outlet in drywall, and finish it off with a Sawzall. There we go, and now it's just hinged at the corners. Now I just need to knock those out. I was trying to think how I could get the perfect angle reinforced on this thing, so I decided to clamp it around the outside edge and then just tack each of these little mini gaps here. That should create the perfect angle. And then we just tack up the back side of each of these, and then I'll grind that down flat and put the blue tin can plate on there. And there we go, nice and smooth. Now we can tack in that sheet metal here that has lost its shape a little bit, so we'll be able to bend it into there nice and easily now. Alright, and there we have it. It's a little bit maybe it isn't crooked. It kind of looks like it in the camera lens though. I guess it isn't. So just tacked on for now. I do need to tack it on up in this corner, or weld it in somehow, because I need to grind these ones down flat so they aren't in the way of it closing. So I decided to add a secondary permanent box here, and then this will go on the cover, so it'll be a little bit offset from that, but it should give full coverage. Because this was a little bit on the crooked side, it's just a little bit off. I didn't like the way it was sealing up, so I'm going to try to seal this up along this edge and up this edge at a minimum, so that this can tightly secure to it. All right, so I got the door installed, or the first stage of the door. The second stage of the door is laying around this mess somewhere. I had to cut some reliefs in it right here, so I'm hoping I can go grab some 1 inch, just some thin steel, and just lay it over the top of there to make a band-aid, just to dress up that front. I don't like that front on there, and I might even do something to try to dress up this edge right here. What I don't like is these holes. I did take a burr bit and went in vertically and routed those out to try to clean up those edges so they weren't so sharp. And you know, they won't cut a rubber glove even, but somebody gets their finger in there, it's going to be an ugly situation in my opinion. So what I'm thinking I'm going to do is I'm going to go grab a piece of 1 inch steel, and it ain't going to take but maybe 2 pounds, so $2 worth of steel. I'm going to cut off a bunch of like 1/4 inch or even maybe half-inch chunks using the steel cutoff. And I'm just gonna tack those things around here, man. I just don't like the idea of this being at a school and kids being able to get their fingers in there. But if I had something that had a 1-inch inside diameter, then you know it's just going to be really hard for them to get their finger cut off, at least, because it's going to be hanging on this edge right here. It might get pulled off if they get stuck in there, but you know, tell them to keep their damn fingers out of there.